All right, y'all. Welcome back to Verses and Vibes with Thinker and Bash. This is episode 26. Episode 26. And we are back talking about Joseph and his shenanigans in Egypt with this God's plan, setting up capitalism, slavery. And this week, I guess we'll get into the supremacy of it all because this is I think this is where it sets up the Israelites and their specialness. Um,
But
the first time that we see Joseph show like real favoritism
okay.
to the Israelites during this, and then I guess getting digging into it with like the anachronisms and all that. What's up, TT? What's up, Annika? Thank you guys for showing up. I want to shout out TT. TT is a huge supporter of the podcast.
Thanks so much.
Always telling people to download it and to share it and to like the live. I appreciate you so much. All right.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. I know we have a lot of the our family, deconstruction family is live this morning. Yesterday was a mess.
What happened?
Yesterday was a mess. So we were chilling on Ty the Goddess's live last night,
Yeah.
and like we got some real haters that don't like the fact that we do these lives, and one of them came into the live last night threatening our lives. Yeah, like claims that she got addresses and stuff off, which I know she don't have mine because I you know make sure that my personal information isn't on the internet. But she sent Christina some screenshots claiming that she got her address and all that and threatened our lives. And so of course we hashed it out. I ended up getting suspended um last night.
Well, what did you say to get you suspended? Never mind. Don't say it on here
I
because I don't
told
want
her
you to
that
get
she wanted to eat my
happy dog, but catch you if I can.
cause like, why are you following me around? Like, I already done blocked you, right? Like, you are obsessed. And so I told her, obviously you want some, but you can't have none. And that got me suspended. But I got my account back.
You can't tell people that they don't.
It's the truth.
You can't tell. Sometimes the truth is not it's not perfect for all platforms. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't say that.
But no, like seriously, I don't think like it feels like they rather argue about, you know, their loyalty to the God instead of listening to us say, hey, like it's about how humans treat humans, right?
That
Like
makes sense to me.
it feels like y'all don't care because like we were talking about Hector's little cousin. You know what happened to Hector's cousin?
I don't.
Hector's cousin was like 7, 8 years old. He was severely disabled, had to be on tubes, like he couldn't do anything for himself, right?
Yeah.
And his mother took care of him, and he had to live like he spent most of his time in a crib
Okay.
at 7, 8 years old, hooked up to machines. His mother dies
Okay.
while she's in the house. If I'm not mistaken, I think Hector said she took her own life.
Oh wow.
And so the the child is left in this crib starving to death for almost 14 days, and the child dies out from
Oh.
starvation, hooked up to machines. And
Oh
they end up
wow.
finding the child in the mother because a stench was coming from the house. And so we asked the question, like, where was God in that situation? And why didn't God like put it on the neighbor's heart to go and say, hey, there is a child in the house, or go check on the mom, right? So that they could find the child. And the believers that were on the panel were so unempathetic. It was only one believer that came up who showed any type of empathy for the mother and the child. But the believers that did come up and the ones that were in the comments were like, he's in heaven now, or that ain't God's responsibility. What are you doing to feed the homeless? Like they had no empathy whatsoever. And they were more so mad about us asking, like, why did God allow something like that to happen? Where was God? Because they always talk about this special feeling that they get with this Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is how they communicate with this God. And logic would say, like, if you're communicating with a God that loves children, that desires that no one should perish, why didn't he send or touch someone's heart to make sure that someone went over there to find that child, so that child didn't sit there for almost 14 days starving to death?
Oh my God, man. Oh my God. That's oh man.
Yeah, and we were all pretty tore up last night, and like literally the argument stems like this girl, she's a believer, she comes in, and the first thing she wants to talk about is y'all wear wigs. Like, and we're literally having this conversation about this kid, and she starts threatening us because we're asking, like, why would a loving God allow something like that to happen? And
Because
like
y'all were weak. Is that why he did it?
it, no, she just started talking about, you know, uh me and Christina wear wigs, calling us bald headed. She was like, thinking you have a big Adam's apple, like just saying all kind of stuff. To She was trying to incite violence. Um and it felt like that's all they could do, because like what could you say, right? From that, other than, look, I understand why y'all say that you don't see a God. Like, if something like that happened, I understand. Like, that should have been the thing that came out of their mouth, but instead it was, I want to fight you, I want to slap you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That really fucked me up, bro.
Yeah.
Starving got that's a horrible way to man. And just oh man.
And to already be, right, hooked up to machines, right?
Yeah.
He could, and then you got to think about, like, also he using the bathroom, all right? So, like, why? And then I brought up the fact that their God, in this book, the God uses starvation as a form of punishment a lot of times.
Mm,
So he knows how horrible of a death starvation is. He knows how painful that is. He threatens it, and then, or he uses it to enact punishment. And they didn't like that point that I made up either. So it made him really, really mad. And so last night it was really, really taxing emotionally, um last night. And I think the thing that got me the most, like, I don't care what people say about me, but the thing that got me the most is seeing humans not give a damn about other humans,
mm,
and that realizing that the people who are claiming to know a God, t- to have the salvation of a God, could be this indifferent to human suffering. And it's like, if the, if the people that are claiming to have this power and access to this God that makes them love humans, ref, you know, they behave that way, they think that way, and it's a lot of them.
mm,
How hard is it going to be to actually get humans to give a damn about humans?
mm,
And like, and the things that she was saying, and the believers in the comments were backing her up. They were gifting her as she was threatening Christina's life. To
mm,
see believers gifting her and praising her, sending clap emojis as she's threatening violence. And it's like,
mm, mm, mm.
that's
You know,
I think that's the thing that hurt me the most, was to see that and realize that, like, that's the reality.
the strange thing about stuff like this is like religious ideologies are very layered, right? There is the academia of it all, right? Where we can sit down and parse Hebrew and Greek and discuss the philosophies and theologies and histories of it all. You're right, like just the academic pursuit. There is the devotion of it all. There is the part where people just kind of need to get through their day, and they it's a hope and there's a faith involved. I mean, and if that ventures into a lot of things. There's the politic of it all, like right. There's a lot of it. I think the part that just I will never understand is the emotional and physical violence of it all,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's one thing for us to disagree about uh theological idea. Okay, who cares? It's one thing for us to, like, we know the history is incomplete, right? Like, we only know in history what we know in history, and we deduce from it what we get. So it's one thing for us to disagree about purposes in history. That's a different, cool. But I'll never understand clapping for people who want to hurt folk.
Mhm.
I, I,
I I don't get what pushes them to the violence to say, if you don't believe what I believe, then you're worth hurting.
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't get it.
It
Like,
seems counterproductive to the mission.
very counterproductive.
Yeah,
And they know that they don't see the God. Like, they know that their faith lies on them and what they feel,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what they believe that this God is doing in their life, right? The waking them up every day, them eating, them having a job, them being able to pay their bills, you know, maybe uh coincidences that they're calling miracles. Somebody showed up at the last minute and helped them, gave them some money, right? Uh they know that they don't see the God. They know that skeptics, atheists have every right to be skeptical,
Yes,
because what they are asking us to do is to just believe what they say. They're asking us to believe their account. They don't like talking about the Bible because they know that the Bible has a lot of holes in it. They know, right? Like, that what they believe and what they have been taught isn't necessarily in the book. So they hate going to the book. And I don't understand how an idea is worth protecting or defending so much that you're willing to hurt someone over it. I don't get that.
that's wild. That's wild to me. That's wild to me. Yeah, that's wild. I don't think I get that either. And I think it's kind of, well, maybe it's kind of born in this whole persecution complex, and the analogies of being, soldiers for Christ, and warriors, and blah blah blah. There's a lot of that kind of rhetoric that kind of floats around in those circles. But like, when it leaves the rhetorical spaces and gets into where you're physically making threats to people, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
That's
like you said, it goes against what they claim their mission is. And I was thinking this morning, like, for every threat that we get, like the Thursday night, a guy came up on stage, called me all kind of bitches and hoes, and then said, one day somebody's gonna shoot the shit out of you. A guy did. And he was doing this in defense of his belief. And this is somebody who I've never had a theological conversation with, but he says that he watches my lives for months, and he watches my lives every time I go live. Why you're doing that to yourself, I don't know. Like, you already don't agree with what I say. Why do you keep showing up? And then he's like, it's your mouth. It's the way you carry yourself that I don't like, and I hope one day somebody shoots the shit out of you.
why would you hope that?
Exactly. Like, why? Why do you allow somebody who you never have met, you don't know, you don't like I say bitch or fuck. Why are you subjecting yourself to hearing me say bitch or fuck? And why are you allowing it to get you so upset that you are wishing death on me, a violent death at that? And you're doing it as a follower of Christ. And then when I ask, like, is this Jesus talking? Is this Jesus saying this? They'll say, "No, I'm not perfect. The devil the devil tempts me too. This is
But
the
why would
devil."
why would the devil want you to be dead if you're
That's my
doing the devil's?
that's my point. And so when I say, "Oh, so the devil and Jesus both are mad at me," right? The devil and Jesus both are pushing for people to come to God, then they get mad at that. Like, it to me, it makes no sense. I just feel like it's people who are already violent, and they believe that belief in this God has saved them from their natural instincts, but I don't know. Like it just doesn't.
It doesn't seem like that.
Yeah, it doesn't at all.
Man, that done bothered me for the day.
Well,
That done
I mean,
bothered me.
I'm used to it. I get death threats all the time, which is
See,
crazy.
uh,
It's crazy. And me, like who don't believe in a God, I've not ever threatened to take somebody's life.
me either.
But they'll right, but they'll say that that we have no grounds for morality. And then so I have to question like since you would go as far as to threaten somebody's life for not believing, and you say that your morality is grounded in this God, are you saying that that is something that your God would want you to do? And then they would get mad at that question.
You get mad at that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then just don't engage in the conversation. They're like, that's okay. Right? Like, it's okay. You don't no one's making you get up here and do this. You don't have to talk or listen or any of that. Like, why put yourself in a situation where you're gonna be so upset that you start to threaten people's lives? Uh,
I ask that all the time, and yet they show up. It's like they cannot help themselves. Even to the point where when they be in the comments talking about block me. Why don't you block yourself?
yeah, yeah, you can just exit and then block, yeah, hit block, and I never show up on your line FYP again.
Mhm.
Oh,
I think they like the violence. Like they like the confusion. And so like the days that we're having a good show where people are coming up and talking about how they're getting their questions answered, they're deconstructing, they're reconnecting with their family, people who have exiled or been excommunicated, they're working on their boundaries and they're now having relationships with family members and stuff. It's like the Christians get mad at that, and they'll start commenting in the comments and they'll say get back to the debates, or I'm out of here. Like they don't want to hear that people are being helped, right? That people are healing. They want to fight, and they want to see and hear that without this God you're suffering. That's why they I think that's why they go to the violence, because they don't see their God striking people down for not believing, because it's what they've believed their whole life. Like if you question God, if you don't believe, you're going to suffer. God's going to strike you down, the she bears, all this stuff. They don't see it happening, so they put themselves in their God's shoes, and they're like, oh, I got to help God.
I gotta help them out.
Yeah. And I say all the time, in Numbers 22, where the angel of the Lord turns into a Satan against Balaam.
Hmm.
I say all the time that believers are willing to turn themselves into their idea of Satan for their God.
That's so crazy to me. Let me go grab a coffee because I'm still
Okay.
listening. It's right over here. Okay.
All right.
That's so
What's up,
crazy.
everybody? Thank y'all for coming in. Hey, everything Kay. What's up, Amara? Hey, Selena. What's up, Fred?
Hold on. I'm gonna put it back in this back fridge. Hold on.
Okay. Thank you, TT. Y'all make sure y'all hit like and share the the podcast. If you're not subscribing, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. We're gonna talk about Joseph and his shenanigans. Are we going to do the show on the 9th or the 10th? Am I going to the show? No, unfortunately not. I know he's coming to our city in March. So I'm gonna go to that show, but I'm not gonna make the one in May because the tickets are sold out. They're they're sold out.
Not the May 10th one.
Oh, it's not?
The ninth one is gone. The 10th is still available. Still got a
Oh,
couple seats
okay.
for the 10th. But I'm actually
Okay.
gonna be in Nashville this evening.
What?
Hmm. When we get off this, I'm going to the airport.
Okay, what are you doing here? Are you doing a show here?
Now I'm doing some writing early in the week. I'm doing a show on the 21st in Nashville.
Of March, right?
March, yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to that one.
Yeah.
We leave this week.
I know,
Um,
I know. Oh, don't do it. I'm so sad.
I
but I
was
got a show
so
Saturday.
sad. Oh, do you?
Oh,
I was so sad when I found out that you weren't gonna be there. I
well,
was
but
like,
my mama gonna be there.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So I'm writing a book.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
what's
it's a fiction, nonfiction. So like, so it's a
it's a
fiction.
Bible?
No, well,
Uh,
deconstruction Bible. No, so it's a story about a young girl named Blessing, and her godmother, Olivia. They're both believers, and
okay.
they're going to end up going through like a whole experience introduced to the answers to questions that they've had. Both of them are in some really big situations. Um, uh, and then they're both going to look at their Hells Fargo fire insurance policies and decide whether they want to cancel the
What kind
policies
of
or not.
what kind of insurance policy?
Hells Fargo fire insurance.
I'm sick of this shit.
Oh my gosh. Shane gave me the name.
I'm so sick of Hills Fargo.
Shane gave me Shane is in the book. Shane is in the book. He plays a big role in one of their deconstruction journeys. Um, but yeah, Shane gave me that name. And at first I was just gonna write a policy, which I did. I wrote an entire policy. And then I was like, wait, this is a pamphlet. I was like, I could turn this into a whole novel and put the policy in the back of the novel and use
Hills
this as a
Fargo.
deconstruction guide for people who are deconstructing. And when they get to the end of the story, they would have been able to ask themselves all kind of questions, and then decide at the end if they want to cancel their policy or not.
Hills Fargo is never gonna be right with me. It's never gonna be right. I'm never gonna accept it. Hills
Yeah,
Fargo.
Wells Fargo gonna be pissed, but oh well,
Yes. Hills
oh
Fargo.
well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I love that.
Yeah, and so I'm doing a private reading during the family trip
Mm,
to give a sneak peek of the book and then get feedback while we're there. So
that'll be fun. I'm
yeah.
trying to encourage my mama to do some talking while she's down there. And I know we're supposed to be reading right now, but this is actually kind of good for me.
Yeah.
But my mom called me the other day, and mama, if you never have a son like me, because I tell all the business, not all of it, but she called me the other day. She was so sad,
Oh.
and she was sad because she was like, it really hits me sometimes that I spent so much of my life teaching, this nonsense, and she really regrets having done that. And so I was like, well, why don't you just, teach people what you're learning now? She was like, because I'm scared to teach it now because I was wrong for that long. How do I know I'm not wrong now?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and so I'm really glad that she's going on this trip. And I'm trying to encourage her to talk through that process, right? Like just because I mean that's really a great thing to ask yourself. It's a large amount of self awareness to say, well, I was wrong then, I could be wrong again.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm glad that she's coming down, and I'm trying. I really wanted to be around some people that can, because a lot of people are going through that, right? Like when you unlearn something, when you weren't right the first time, it's like sometimes you lose trust in your get it right o meter.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's true. I think that's true for a lot of people going through deconstruction, right? That's like, and that's scary because if I'm not right now, right, how will I ever know what is right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I try to stick for me, sticking as close to factual information as possible for me. And that's why I don't like when people gaslight me and try to con- you know convince me that something that they've been taught extra biblically, right? About it was a test for Job, and the devil did go to God and ask God if he could test Job. And I'm like, no, the text doesn't say that. The
yeah,
text says that, and that's why I do that. Because I think for me, if I lean more heavily on what the text says, right?
hmm
And then sticking to the facts, the historical facts. What I know to be true is that I do not talk to a God, right?
yeah,
That the things that I do, I have been attributing that to a God.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so sticking as close to that reality and facts for me, and I think they have this tactic to make you feel like logic and reasoning and reality and sanity is the demonic thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And so paying attention to that and knowing their tactics too um helps me. And like if it's true, they shouldn't have to use manipulative tactics or get violent.
yeah. Or lie,
Yeah.
or be scared to answer a question, or be scared that they're gonna be put in a gotcha moment, or because if it's true, there ain't no gotcha to it. It just is what it is.
That's why if a God, like, why is it the God showing up to defend himself? And like, why are y'all having to fight his battles and he's the powerful one? You know? Like, and if I had access to an all-powerful God that I knew, like I knew that God, that I was talking to that God and that God was doing stuff for me, ain't no way in hell I'm gonna be arguing with somebody about what I already know to be true. I'm trying to convince them that what I know is true, unless I need that person to believe what I'm saying.
Right.
Right.
Or I would just show you that it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Here, there it is, right there, boom, true. Right. Because I mean that's ultimately what we're trying to do. It's like, okay, I think it says this, you think it says that, let's go read it.
Yeah.
Right. Boom. It said what I said. All right, cool. Right. Without me having to have the spirit, I said it said that, it says that.
And that whole you need the spiritual eyes, and you can't understand what the words say because you don't believe and you don't have the spirit. That's manipulative because what
Gaslighting
you're
as fuck.
yes, because you're telling me that I have to accept your new definition of words.
Yes, because that's the spiritual definition.
Yeah,
Mm.
like it's in, but like they will make people question their sanity. They'll make people question their sanity, and some people give into it and agree to be insane.
I can't do it.
They
I
agree
can't
to
do
the
it.
insanity.
I can't do it. I'm not capable of doing it. I'm just not capable of doing it. And all of that to say, again, all of that to say that to anybody going through wherever you may be in the deconstruction or skeptical, or whatever, wherever you may be, even if you're a believer, and you're just trying to learn more, you have to give yourself grace to learn a thing, and you practice that grace through a little bit of, I don't even know if humility is the right word, but for lack of a better word, humility, to just know that I don't know everything,
Mhm.
right? That there is more to learn about everything in the world, right? And so a lot of times we like to camp out in a certain doctrinal space as if this must be the way, or this must be what is true. And you then when any new information is appearing to you, you either got to try to fit it into your current hypothesis, or you have to throw it away because it doesn't fit your hypothesis. And it's like, well, that's just not how learning works. That's not how life works. So give yourself some grace so that you don't end up having to defend what you ultimately can't know. It's hard to defend what you don't know.
Yeah, that like the it, there's no room for in mental growth or intellectual growth with this religion.
Mm,
It's already set. What the leaders have said that it is, that's what it is. Don't change it. Don't ask questions. And if you deviate from that, then you're heretical or,
mm,
you're demonic. We so I did some research this weekend too, because Thursday, maybe Friday night, I can't remember. I had a conversation with a young man about like whether black Christians are more afraid to question this God than white Christians are.
okay.
And that I think it's because there are two different gods presented them, like two different ideas presented. Where with the black God, it's that God is presented as that he saved you from, he put you in slavery, he got you out of slavery, he'll put you back in slavery, or he'll punish you if you don't act right. Right? You
Mm,
lost everything. Like this is the story they're telling themselves. You once was kings. You once had it all. You're the first on earth. You lost everything because you're disobedient. You're wretched. You're this. Right?
mm,
Um, and so they're afraid to question the God. And so I was doing the guy got upset at me and was accusing me of racism, saying that yeah, I was wrong by saying that Sunday morning is the most segregated day of the week. He's like he was straight in denial that the black church and the white church teach this text differently.
Absolutely.
And so I did some research this weekend and actually found stats that says 73% of black Christians say that they go to a predominantly black church.
Mm.
And we already know that 97% of uh, black households are religious. And it said, even with that statistic, Black Americans are more religious than the U.S. the U.S. population overall.
Yeah, yeah, very, very much so. Right. And I hate to conflate stats, but just hear this out. It is true that 97% of African American households are religious. It is true that the vast majority of them happen to be Christian. I forget exactly what that percentage is, but it's a vast majority happen to be Christian. It is also true that the voting ranks of African Americans, we tend to vote one way,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it dog whistly and violent to co-opt Christianity as the party, as the other party's religion. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like to say, oh, these people are the true Christians. Those are not. Although those people over there are statistically more likely to be Christian than you. Those people over there attend services more than you. Those people over there show a greater devotion than you. To say, no, they're not Christians. We are,
Yeah.
right? That and we talked about this before, um, but back in the 1400s, in the 1450s, as a matter of fact, back in Spain, they had this thing called oh my God, it means purity of blood, but I forget the Spanish term for it, but it means purity of blood. And there was this idea that if you weren't a Spaniard, that you weren't a Christian. Or, if you weren't European, then you weren't a Christian, and that you were just some kind of convert, and so you couldn't hold positions of power, and you couldn't be in the army, and blah 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 blah. And so they had this thing called old Christians and new Christians, and blah 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 blah. And that same idea is still very much at work, right? It's like, oh, no 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 no, they're not Christians, we are, right? And to be trying to prove that you are a part of this thing that people are literally like just kind of writing
Don't
you out of.
believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That he said there was one guy on Oso's live that said he said that he's been watching the lives and so he started questioning. So he said he wanted to know for himself. And so he didn't know where to start with like the researching and everything. So he says he called the Vatican. Right? He's a black guy. Says he called the Vatican and they put a translator on the phone and talked with him. And he said the translator said, um, we don't have anything to do with you. This God isn't your God. This religion wasn't created for you. You chose this religion for yourself. So you need to figure it out for yourself.
Who did he call?
The Vatican.
I'm so sick of this shit, man. I'm not.
Hold
I'm not. I'm not
on,
gonna
back.
keep doing
Because look,
this.
then he said after that he called Egypt.
Who did he call?
Egypt.
The country?
He called, I guess, the tourist. Yeah, but I don't know what he called, but he said he called down to Egypt to get
He called
answers.
down to Egypt.
He
Just
gave the
Egypt.
number that he called to the Vatican on Oso's live.
He just called the Vatican.
He just called the Vatican and was asking questions, and they told him, "Look, we ain't your people."
Let me look at. Let me hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, G.
Yeah, but the fact that he went that far, right? The fact that he said I needed to know the truth. But like the fact that you would call these places, right? Because you're like, um, you if this God was real, you wouldn't even have to go that far. Does that make sense? Like if you knew, like you knew that you were engaging with a God, picking up the phone and trying to call the Vatican, like why? Does it? You know what I'm saying?
He called. What do you ask him? What do you ask when he called about
I
it?
actually, I'm gonna ask Oso to clip that conversation because we was like, what? And he was like, my heart was broken because he said that before that phone call, he didn't like listening to my lie. He said he used to be a nerd. He stopped being a nerd. Then he said after he made the phone call, he said to himself, maybe Thinker is right because they told him that this isn't his God, that they don't have
The
anything to do with him.
Vatican said
Yeah.
the Vatican.
He said the translator did. He said they spoke in Italian. They had a translator on the line. And the translator said, listen, this isn't your God. We don't have nothing to do with you. He said the translator said, you chose this for yourself, so you got to figure it out for yourself.
And the Vatican.
But and then he said he called Egypt. Called
Egypt is even more outlandish. Vatican. Like, what was it? Why did you?
I
What do
guess he
you
called like
mean you
a
called Egypt?
tourist. I think he called one of those tourist places like for like the Church of Alexandria or something. I don't know. But the fact that you're doing this, right? Like
Yeah, that's crazy.
you
Yeah,
must know, like you know deep down inside that you're not talking to a God. Like for you to pick up the phone and be like, oh, let me see what the Vatican has to say. He said, I was looking for them to console me. Like he said, I was looking for them to he said because they were the ones that uh were first.
yeah, oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And so he said I was looking for them to say something that would console me. And he said that's what I got. But like it's the fact that you have to go to humans and say, "Hey, is this God real?" Like, yeah, are y'all telling the truth? Like that.
Bro.
The fact that you even looked up the telephone number should have been enough.
Bro, I'll never be over the fact that he called Egypt. I never get like I never. That's never gonna sit well in my spirit. It's just not. I can't do it. I'll never be over that.
Yeah,
Call
and
Egypt is crazy,
he said he has a he's a single father, and he said he doesn't want to do to his daughter what was done to him. And so
bro. Yeah, please don't do that to that girl. That's crazy. That's crazy. Calling the Vatican is wild. Although, lo and behold, I do see a phone number for the Vatican, which is crazy.
the rumor rehearsal said he wanted to be a Vatican, not a Vatican.
I'm so sick of this shit, man. I'm so tired, man. I'm so tired. Like, what is
Oh my
wrong, man?
gosh.
Oh God,
But
that's insane.
but that's what this belief system does, right? Like that's what it does.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. But wow, man. Wow, man. That is just wow. Like, wow. That's where we are in the world, guys. We are at the place where we are calling the Vatican. And the Vatican, I just can't believe the Vatican said that. There's no way the Vatican said that. I just don't, no way.
He was that like he seemed like he remind were you there when we was like he sound like Ramon?
Oh, I do remember Buddy. Yeah, I thought he sounded like Ramon too. I
Yeah,
do remember that,
it's
Buddy.
him. That's him.
He
You
called
must
her
have
back.
came in. Yeah, you must have came in after he told us that.
Yeah, because I
But
didn't hear.
yeah.
Because if I had heard him say he called the Vatican, I would have lost my mind. I would have lost it. You
Yeah,
called
it's
who,
it's
sir?
yeah, it's the Ramon sound alike.
Where is Ramon? Is he okay?
I have not seen Ramon on live. I don't know.
Huh, I don't know how you doing. Yeah. Oh, God.
I don't know. It's
Okay.
crazy.
All right. We got enough time to do a chapter. Maybe
He,
let's.
yeah. All right. Genesis 44.
What? I t-
I think Genesis 44 and 45 could just go together because they're not really a lot. Like,
okay, let's run through. Cool.
yeah. Um, and then like we don't have to it's just I don't know. It's not a lot.
Okay.
Um, So Joseph detains Benjamin. Then he commanded the steward of the house, fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the top of his sack. Put my cup, the silver cup, in the top of the sack of the youngest with his money for the grain. And he did as Joseph told him. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away with their donkeys. When they had gone only a short distance from the city, Joseph said to his steward, "Go follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you returned evil for good? Why have you stolen my silver cup? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks? Does he not indeed use it for divination? You have done wrong in doing this." So Joseph was into divination.
That's what they said. I didn't say that.
When he overtook them, he repeated these words to them. They said to him, "Why does my Lord speak such words as these? Far be it from your servants that they should do such a thing. Look, the money that we found at the top of our sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. Why then would we steal silver or gold from our Lord's house? Should it be found with any one of your servants, let him die. Moreover, the rest of us will become my Lord's slaves." He said, "Even so, in accordance with your words, let it be done. Let it be. He with whom it is found shall become my slave, but the rest of you shall go free." Then each one quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each one opened his sack. He searched, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this they tore their clothes, then each one loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house while he was still there, and they fell to the ground before him. Joseph said to him, "What deed is this that you have done? Do you not know that one such as I can practice divination?" And Judah said, "What can we say to my Lord? What can we speak? How can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilt of your servants. Here we are then, my Lord's slaves, both we and also the one in the house whose possession the cup has been found." But he said, "Far be it from me that I should do so. Only the one who in whose possession the cup was found shall be my slave. But as for you, go up in peace to your father." Then Judah stepped up to him and said, "Oh, my Lord, let your servant please speak a word in my Lord's ears, and do not be angry with your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself. My Lord asked his servant, saying, 'Have you a father or a brother?' And we said to my Lord, 'We have a father, an old man, and a young brother, the child of his old age. His brother is dead. He alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him.' Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me, so that I may set my eyes on him.' We said to my Lord, 'The boy cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die.' Then you said to your servants, 'Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you shall see my face no more.'" Why is he like repeating this back to him like this? "When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him the words of my Lord. And when our father said, 'Go again, buy us a little food,' we said, 'We cannot go down. Only if our youngest brother goes down with us, we will go down, for we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us.' Then your servant, my father, said to us, 'You know that my wife bore me two sons. One left me, and I said, Surely he has been torn to pieces, and I have never seen him since. If you take this one also from me, and harm comes to him, you will bring down my gray hairs and sorrow to Sheol. Now, therefore, when I come to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, then as his life is bound up, the boy's life. When he sees that the boy is not with us, he will die, and your servants will bring down the gray hairs of your servant, our father, with sorrow to Sheol. For your servant became surety for the boy to my father, saying, 'If I do not bring him back to you, then I will bear the blame in the sight of my father all my life.' Now, therefore, please let your servant remain as a slave to my Lord in place of the boy, and let the boy go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear to see the suffering that will come upon my father." I think they retold the story to kind of paint, to kind of like say this is why Joseph got emotional. It's like, "You're going to kill my father if this doesn't happen," I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of repeat though.
Yeah. Yeah. That was. Yeah. Yeah. That was a bit much. Okay. So they told that story again.
Exactly. You see why I said I don't think like this chapter, the most interesting thing in this chapter is the fact that Joseph sets up his brother Benjamin with like straight lie. So the God either watched Joseph tell a lie, or it was also his plan. Um, so he sets them up with silver, saying that they stole the silver cup that is for a divination.
Yep.
Interesting.
Sometimes you have to do a little divination.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy today about that. The guy was talking to earlier about how the worship practices in Israel were kind of all over the place, and you know, for whatever reason, people just don't recognize that. Like people did all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like people did all kinds of stuff, and but some people say, "Hey, you don't do divination." Some people say, "Yeah, we did. We did divination. It was a part of our thing," right? Some people say you don't interpret dreams. Some people say, "No, no, you should interpret dreams." Right? Stuff was all over the place. Anyway,
Mhm.
like, yeah,
Yeah. And so that's the most interesting thing about this story. I think it's a setup for this one. Then chapter 45, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried out, "Send everyone away from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers, and he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. Like he cried so loud that they heard it
wow,
throughout the entire palace.
it was loud as hell.
Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him. So dismayed they were at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come closer to me." And they came closer. He said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me here before you to preserve life. For the
Okay.
famine Right. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are 5 more years in which there would be neither plowing nor harvest. So all of this has happened. The people are without food
2 years.
already, and it's only been 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, 2 years.
This is what I mean when I say this God knew what um what starvation does,
Operation.
because they
Yeah.
got 5 more years to go of the famine and they already done sold all their stuff.
How they finna make it another 5 years? 5 years
Uh,
is a long time.
Yeah. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not delay. You shall settle in the land of Goshen. This puts them in Goshen,
Okay.
which is
That's how
which
they
is
get.
odd. And you shall be near me, you and your children's children, as well as your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, since there are 5 more years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have will not come to poverty. And now your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my own mouth that speaks to you. You must tell your father how greatly I am honored in Egypt and all that you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, while Benjamin wept upon his neck. And he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. And after that, his brothers talked with him. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come. Pharaoh and his servants were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Say to your brothers, do this: load your animals and go back to the land of Canaan. Take your father and your households and come to me, so that I may give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you may enjoy the fat of the land. You are further charged to say this: do this: take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Give no thought to your possessions, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours." This is such a fairy tale. The sons of Israel did so. Joseph gave them wagons according to the instructions of Pharaoh, and he gave them provisions for the journey. To each one of them he gave a set of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 sets of garments. To his father he said the following: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and provision for his father on the journey. Then he sent his brothers on their way, and as they were leaving, he said to them, "Do not quarrel along the way." So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. And they told him, Joseph is still alive. He is even ruler over all the land of Egypt. He was stunned. He could not believe them. But when they told him all the words of Joseph that he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. Israel said, enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I must go and see him before I die.
All right. Well, okay. Okay. They out of food in Egypt, and he's sending away donkeys full of stuff. So clearly they
Exactly.
wasn't sold completely out. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's fucked up.
It's like it's clearly fairy tale-ish, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I say a lot of times when I read the Hebrew scriptures, there's jealousy of the other nations that were successful then.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
tell that this writer is writing a mythological story of how they wished.
Things had gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Because why in the world? Like people dying. People dying.
Yeah.
And you sending off food that they don't work for. Like they have worked for this food. They have worked and they're coming to pay you for the food. All right. This is basically like giving away people's social security check. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think this is the setup. Like this I think these two chapters are just like they're very fairy tale-ish in nature, and they're just the setup for what's coming, like the economic shift, like Joseph controlling everything, everybody going in slavery except the Israelites at this time. And then when Joseph dies, then the Israelites go into slavery while they're in Egypt, and that whole oppression starts for them.
You know
And
what's
that
weird? This is fairy tale-ish, kind of. Because when I said this, like giving away people's social security check, it made me think about the fact that there are people right now in real life who are from a foreign country who came to this land, who are technically like second in command under the president, who are literally taking away people's Medicaid to give it to
Mhm.
their friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that did, yikes. Fucking yikes, bro.
Yeah. Yep, that's true.
Fucking yikes, man.
It's a the guidebook. It's the setup for the capitalism, for the economic shift. Like when Joseph took over, right? I think he takes over, like completely takes over in in chapter 47, when the people agree to become slaves. Pharaoh, like they sell their land, they sell their cattle, like they're out of food completely, they're out of money completely. Like at this point, Joseph controls all the food, um, all the cattle, and I think around chapter 47, they end up selling their land to him, and then they sell their bodies to him, and then they control everything. And then except for everybody's in slavery, everybody's poor except for Joseph's family and the priest.
That's crazy. That's really wild.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing that's really wild. Like that just hit me.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like was God okay with the lie that Joseph told to get back at his brothers for selling him into slavery, although that was the God's plan to sell him into slavery? Was he okay with this psychological warfare, this game that he played with them? Although they couldn't, like, could Joseph's brothers actually help n- selling him into slavery if this was the God's
The
plan?
plan.
And then here's Joseph doing all this mean shit, like setting them up uh as thieves, right? With a
Yeah.
lie, right? Deception
And
again.
stuff on them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is that the God's plan? Like, did they deserve that? Did they deserve this psychological warfare? If this is where the whole thing about free will comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because if this was the God's plan, did Joseph's brothers have free will and to not sell Joseph into slavery?
Or was it necessary? Yeah. 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 Wow.
And then
Okay.
do they deserve this punishment? Like, do they deserve this get back that Joseph is doing right now? Because
Or
that
is this
was
just a
God's
part of the plan?
plan.
Yeah, it's just all a part of the plan. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess it's not it's just it's crazy to me. But
yeah, yeah. That's. I'm still stuck. No, mind. I'm gonna think about that later. I'm gonna think about that later. Okay. Okay, guys. All right.
yeah. Yeah. That's
Wow.
why I said today's chapters weren't that like they're not
It's a
they're
lot to
like
think about. I just
yeah.
I got to get packed up, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that later. Well, you'll probably be online by the time I touch down, but I'm gonna be in town for a few days, so I'm gonna hit you while I'm down there.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody that came. Make sure y'all hit the like button, the share button, and if you're not subscribing, go ahead and subscribe. We'll see y'all next Sunday. I won't be able to because I'll be
Yeah,
coming
y'all probably
back.
need to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll be back the Sunday after next. Love y'all. See y'all on live. Have a safe flight.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.